about fears. Let's talk about love. Yeah, I got fears, but I ain't got no love.
My frustration level is very high right now. So why, you ask? Okay. I just got done watching, for the past 2 days, a documentary called It Was Him: The Serial Murders of Eddie Edwards. Okay, where to start on this? I'll have to admit that when this show came out, it's a 6-episode show, docu-series, following a former detective named John Cameron, and Eddie Edwards, who is a serial killer. His grandfather, he was the grandfather of this guy that was working in tandem with John Cameron. When this came out, I watched it. I started to watch it. I was intrigued. And I got probably 4 minutes into it, and I stopped watching it. Now it's been many years. I forced myself to sit down and actually watch it. Now, why did I do this? Okay. Quick synopsis. John Cameron is a former detective, police officer of, I believe, 24 years. And I believe he wrote a book about the serial killer named Eddie Edwards. He had done some correspondence with him while he was in prison, and wrote a book. Now, why did I give up after 3 minutes a couple years ago when I started watching it? I'll tell you why. Tell me if you recognize any of these names. Martha Moxley, Chandra Levy, West Memphis 3. When the anthrax scare, when somebody was mailing all those anthrax letters. JonBenet, Black Dahlia, Adam Walsh, Zodiac, Lacey Peterson, Jimmy Hoffa, Teresa Hollenbach from the Steve Avery Making a Murderer, Sam Shepard, Atlanta Child Murders. Now, they ring a bell to you, right? Sure. Well, John Cameron said that Eddie Edwards committed all of those murders. That is why I turned it off within 3 minutes of watching it. However, I did not want to be that dismissive last night when I said, you know what? There was a reason this intrigued me, because, you know what? I wrote a book, a fiction book, many years ago. It's actually a screenplay about almost that very thing. How one individual was responsible for a lot of famous murders. This was fiction. Okay? Very ironic, right? But I wanted to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, which I did. I paid $13 on Amazon Prime to watch this series. Now, with that said, did he change my mind? Do I believe that Eddie Edwards was responsible for all those famous murders? I didn't mention all the non-famous murders that I wasn't even familiar with. No. How do I want to do this? Let me listen. I never want to. I don't ever want to make somebody feel bad. Okay? I never want to criticize people because I know what that's like to be criticized. But man, let me tell you, I hope I did not come off like I just watched this guy come off on that show, on The Hunt for the Zodiac. I hope I didn't come off looking crazy like this guy did during that show. You know what that show just taught me? You see, everything's a learnable moment, right? That show taught me that I will never do another television show unless it is either my own show or it's my own show and I can steer it the way I want it to go. Because that shit I just watched, while produced well, must cater to crazy people in life that follow true crime. I'm almost, I guess, speechless to think that somebody actually not only comes up with this, but believes it and convinces others to believe it. Now, I shouldn't be surprised. You know, Charles Manson convinced people to do things. David Koresh, Jim Jones, you know, the list goes on and on. But okay, so this ex-detective was, from what they said, and I couldn't find too much on this, but he also worked cold cases on the job and was an FBI task force member. Well, as you can see right here, I was an FBI task force member. So that is why I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Let me see what you got to link these. If there's evidence there, I will follow. So I start off very skeptical. Then I get into the show. There's just so much to talk about. But I took a lot of notes during this program. And I think what I want to say is that the program, the producers, the network must have had two goals in mind. One is this is so unbelievable that it is going to draw viewers in. And I imagine the ratings were probably pretty good. Number two, that they felt that this detective really believed what he was saying. But I'm going to go back to number one. They thought it would make good television, because it did. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to read through my notes on this. That's the simplest way I think that I can do it. I wrote stuff down, and then I'll discuss it a little bit, and we can go from there. All right? Before I do that, let me turn on some lights. So I'm going to pause this so I can get some more lights on here, because I want to see what I'm reading, and I can see that it's kind of dark. So, okay, thanks. I'm back. Let's start off with how the show starts. Okay, episode 1, you're kind of introduced to Eddie Edwards, who basically is a con man, and his grandson, who goes on this journey with Cameron, and they're going to find out, how many people Eddie Edwards really did kill. Edwards confessed to 5 murders in the 2000 time frames that he committed in 1977. It was a couple at a Lover's Lane area, 1980 and 1996. One of those kids that he killed was his own step or foster child that he had killed for insurance money. So he confessed to those 5. None of them famous, but the whole premise of this John Cameron's idea that this is just so frustrating to talk about because it just goes into circles. The whole premise of Edwards killing people and framing people was to be recognized. But yet he confessed to 5 murders that no one knows about. You know what I mean? But yet Cameron will link him to Zodiac. He's the Zodiac Killer, without a doubt. That's what he says. West Memphis 3. Oh, my... Man, I never want to shit on anybody's parade. I mean, you're entitled to your opinions. And if he really believes that, that's fine. But man. So, okay. Episode 1. Cameron gets involved because there's an unsolved murder of a couple in a Lover's Lane in Great Falls, Montana, where he's from. It's the Kilkey and Bogle murders. And that's what got him started. They talk about 1980 murders of a couple, and that's what ended up being his demise. Eddie Edwards' daughter, decades later, turns him in for these murders that happened, I believe, in 1980. So, during the whole show, it is evident that nobody likes this detective. Nobody will meet with him. Victims' family members, who he's supposedly working for, not that they paid him or anything, but when you work a homicide, you're kind of working it for the victims and the victims' families. At least I do. They didn't want to meet with him. There was a cop whose sister was murdered that they interviewed. He wasn't a cop during that time when his sister was murdered, but because of that, he ended up becoming a cop. He wanted nothing to do with this Cameron. Cameron himself said that he was shunned by his own police department, and actually he said he was fired. Now, I related to him in a way. I never got fired from my police department. I felt at some times people shunned me because I didn't conform. I wasn't part of a clique. That's how I felt shunned. So when he said that, I kind of related to him, but I don't know how he was shunned. I don't feel anybody thought I was crazy. Now, maybe they felt that way with him. I don't know. But he said that his own police department hates him.
Yeah, let's talk about